G'day you mob, Pete here, and this is another episode of Aussie English, the number one place for anyone and everyone wanting to learn Australian English. So today I have a Goss episode for you where I sit down with my old man, my father, Ian Smissen, and we talk about the week's news, whether locally down under here in Australia or non-locally overseas in other parts of the world. Okay, and we sometimes also talk about whatever comes to mind, right? If we can think of something interesting to share with you guys related to us or Australia, we also talk about that in the Goss. So these episodes are specifically designed to try and give you content about many different topics where we're obviously speaking in English and there are multiple people having a natural and spontaneous conversation in English. So it is particularly good to improve your listening skills. In order to complement that though, I really recommend that you join the podcast membership or the academy membership at aussieenglish.com.au, where you will get access to the full transcripts of these episodes, the PDFs, the downloads, and you can also use the online PDF reader to read and listen at the same time. Okay, so if you really want to improve your listening skills fast, get the transcript, listen and read at the same time, keep practicing, and that is the quickest way to level up your English. Anyway, I've been rabbiting on a bit, I've been talking a bit. Let's just get into this episode, guys. Smack the bird, and let's get into it. Yeah, there we go. Boom. All right, maybe I'll get rid of this out of the way. Yeah. So, all right, yeah, we'll give context there. I have some Mortine in my hand right now. You know, Mortine, what is it again? That little
Louis the Fly. Louis the Fly.
Yeah, there used to be this character, Louis the Fly. It was this like New York kind of style gangster fly that would be on all the ads, hot like smoking a cigar with a hat, and he would always die from the Mortine bug spray. But we were just doing the last episode, and there was this little fly flying around, circling the whole time and just distracting.
Driving you nuts.
Driving me nuts. So
right, I'll give you a bit of homework. I'm going to give you a random question. I'll give you a bit of homework here.
Shoot.
Who wrote, this is an famous author in Australia, who wrote the Louis the Fly theme?
Oh man, I have no idea.
You'll find out. I'll give you that one back next time. So.
Next time?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that was a famous author or a famous author? Musician?
No, famous author. He's one of Australia's best-selling authors.
Yeah. Is that one that I should know?
You'll know him, yeah.
Are there books behind my
I'd have to, probably not. No, because he's a fiction writer. So.
Paul Jennings?
No.
So close.
But he started off his professional life in advertising, writing jingles and things. So.
Really? All right.
A little clue.
What's the next story, Dad?
The next story. Hang on. I've got to go back here. This one's sort of a different one. It's the 50th anniversary of the collapse of the Westgate Bridge in Melbourne today.
I don't remember, yeah.
You wouldn't have, obviously.
I was just a twinkle in my dad's eye.
Not even that. I was 12 at the time. Actually, I just turned 13. So the Westgate Bridge is a large bridge. It's about 4 kilometres long.
It's an
big S-shaped
as you go
bridge
into Melbourne
that goes across the mouth of the Yarra River.
Would you call that a suspension bridge?
It's a suspension bridge.
It has these two sort of pyramid-looking
a different style of suspension bridge. That's easy for me to say.
Yeah.
So during its construction, one end of it collapsed and killed 35 men working on it.
Good God. Imagine that happening today.
Yeah. Look, it was
uproar.
But it was it's the single biggest thing that happened in my childhood in Melbourne. Of a sort of news drama that you just went, this is impossible. Like, how is this possible? And it was on the front page of the news for weeks.
Yeah.
Firstly, the fact that it happened, and then all the investigations and everything.
So what ended up actually happening? So the bridge was being made from both sides, right? I assume coming towards itself over the water.
And it was the city side that collapsed.
Okay. So what, they had just not fastened or attached it correctly, and the people working on it,
I don't know. I can't remember the details. Water. It didn't actually. It was. They hadn't got to being over the water yet. They were over the mud flats.
Damn. Yeah, no wonder everyone died. You wonder how many people would have made it if they'd been...
who knows? But
if they'd fallen into the water.
Yeah, so... so it's it's a sad story, but 50 years since that, it's sort of...
Does that blow your mind?
It does, yeah.
Melbourne would have been a completely different place at that time too, right?
Extremely different.
You look at it and you think about the skyscrapers, as if they were always there, but really they're kind of ephemeral. At least they're going to disappear one day, you'd imagine. But in your life, I remember you telling me that the biggest building was only, a handful of stories?
20 stories high.
A handful.
It was built. My father worked in that office building after it was built.
Really?
And it was a state government building. No longer is. But still there, but now it's dwarfed. But, on Collins Street in the main central business district in Melbourne.
No kidding.
20 stories high, and it was the tallest building in Melbourne at the time, which is sort of bizarre to think about now. We've got 2 or 3 buildings. Well, we've got the tallest building is, 76, 77 floors or something.
What's it called?
The Eureka Tower.
Eureka Tower,
that's on the south side of the river.
Yeah.
And there'd be 30 or 40 buildings that are 40 plus, 50 plus stories high. It's not a tall city, Melbourne, but it's a dense one, the CBD.
It is pretty crazy. You wonder what it's going to be like at the end of my life, or, when Noah's your age or something. It's just... Is it just going to be the same but just spread out, or is it going to be, even taller buildings in that?
Yeah, who knows?
Same area. Maybe it'll be underground. There'll be a whole heap going down, not going up.
Yeah, the challenge with building in Melbourne, in that central area of Melbourne, is that it was sandflats and mudflats originally. And so there's something like, depending on where you are, there's something between sort of 10 and 20 metres or more of sand. So you've got to dig a long way down to get to something, to bedrock, to get to something solid to build on. And even building tunnels, when the last tunnel was built under the river, there is one currently being built, but under the river to join up 2 bits of freeway. So rather than having the freeway just running through the city area, they went underground, and it took them years to fix the leakage problem, because some genius engineer who was from overseas, employ locals because at least they understand the geology, didn't think about sealing. They basically just dug the tunnel and then coated it with concrete. She'll be right.
Below sea level?
Yeah.
No ruckers.
And then it just keeps... and you're going under
this
a
water
river.
coming from?
And that's the joke, is that the Yarra River, which is everybody used to joke about being the upside-down river because it's got the mud on the top, doesn't have a bottom. It's just, yes, it's sort of muddy and so on, but the water is still flowing 10 metres below what you would think is the base of the river. And so it's just sitting there seeping through. So
didn't it used to be clear?
Oh, once upon a time it would have been, yeah.
Yeah, I thought there used to be plaruppus and other...
there would have been, yeah.
Heaps of these beautiful animals that were living around here, but we just ended up obviously industrialising the place and agriculture, runoff and everything.
What we know as the Yarra River is completely different from what would have been there at the time of first settlement of Europeans, because there was a little sort of rocky waterfall cascade that was now right in the middle of the centre of Melbourne, where the river goes through. And so it was only tidal up to there. The rest was just fresh water. And so you had constant fresh water flow clearing the river. But now it's tidal for kilometres beyond there, because that was all blown up and dug out to make the river more navigable, because people wanted to be able to take boats up. Because boats, obviously, back in the days of horse and cart, this is way before trains even, river transport was the most efficient way of moving goods up and down through the growing city. So
Melbourne would have been incredible in the beginning, I think, just to have, more so because the surrounding environment and the Indigenous people that were living there just seemed to be so interesting from the limited amount of books that I've read on that. It would have been a very cool
alleged,
location.
And a few ecologists and archaeoecologists who've studied what it would have been like back then have suggested it would have been the Kakadu of the South. That it was just
Port Phillip
hundreds
Bay, right?
but even just that area around Melbourne, hundreds of square kilometres in that area of wetland, mud-based, sand-based wetland that would have had amazing bird life, all of which has disappeared once they started to fill it in.
Sean Dooley from BirdLife Australia was saying that one of the swamps or parks outside of Melbourne has something like 200 plus species of birds and is one of the most diverse places in Australia for bird wildlife. And I was just like, what? Outside of Melbourne? Like, it just wouldn't be what I would expect. You'd expect in a rainforest or in some other
Western
region.
Treatment Plant, what used to be called the Werribee Sewerage Farm, is the same. You can go there and, if you spend a good day looking, you'll get 100 species of birds there on a good day. There's plenty more than that. But
it's pretty interesting too, isn't it, the formation of Port Phillip Bay, because it used to be the opening of Port Phillip Bay. It's an interesting bay because its opening is so small. It's only, 3 kilometres wide?
3 kilometres
maybe
across,
less. Yeah. And so all the boats come in through that little narrow channel. And then within Port Phillip Bay, what would it be in diameter, like 70 kilometres?
So I think it's about, it's roughly, it's a diamond shape with a bit of extra bit stuck on the side into Corio Bay near Geelong.
So those boats would still take a good hour once they get through the heads
to actually get to Melbourne,
which is at the sort of top of the diamond that would be Port Phillip Bay. Yeah. But that 8,000 years and more ago would have just been floodplains, I take it, of the Yarra River. Because the Yarra River is it went out through the opening of the heads, right?
Yes, the heads is basically the opening of the river. Yeah. In fact, it isn't even that. It's just where the river would have continued on, and the whole of what we now call the bay would have just been floodplain. Yeah. But that floodplain would have continued past the heads out onto what is now Bass Strait, and Bass Strait is very shallow as well. So Bass Strait was land. 8,000 years ago, you could walk to Tasmania. Yeah. And so the river would have made its way, meandered its way out across what is now Bass Strait.
You wonder where it went.
Emptied into the Southern Ocean.
Yeah. Did it go left or right, or keep going down to Tassie?
Right, as in going south. So it turned west, and I don't actually know. It'd be easy enough to find out, but I'm ashamed to say my studies of geology and geomorphology are now way too long ago for me to remember that. But I expect it opened up somewhere between Cape Otway and King Island.
Wow,
about halfway along there. So.
Jeez, it's so crazy to think that the river was so much more so recently in geological time, and that you would have had Indigenous people hunting kangaroo, under what is now 20 metres of water, 12 metres of water in the bay and out in the front of it, right? So, it is crazy. And that they could just walk to Tasmania and, nuts.
Yeah, long way to walk, but you could do it. So.
Yeah, far out. Anyway, let's finish that one there. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Me and Noah, he's here as well, smacking the microphone with his spoon. That was another episode of the Goss. Don't forget, guys, if you want to get access to all of the Goss episodes, the transcripts, the MP3s, the videos, the entire episodes from 1 to, I think we're up to like 40 something now. Yeah, that's it, mate. Just go to aussieenglish.com.au and you can sign up for those. Anyway, I'm Pete, your host. This has been another Aussie English episode. It's a pleasure, and I'll see you soon.